Halloween is here, of course, and your ghouls and goblins, as they're going house to house for treats, there might be some rules to make sure your manners aren't scary this Halloween. Joining us, we've got etiquette expert Christy Spencer. Christy, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us and visit about Halloween etiquette.
Yes, well, happy Halloween to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So how can parents help their kids use manners for Halloween? Let's first of all talk about the kiddos. How can parents help their kids use manners this Halloween?
Well, Halloween is the perfect time to help kids brush up on manners before the bigger holidays come for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I encourage parents to take a little bit of time this afternoon before they go out, maybe role play with your child, have them dress up in their costume, practice ringing a doorbell and knocking just a couple of times to try to get the treaters to come out and give you candy. So you want to, work on those kinds of manners, and then you want to help them say trick or treat, and then of course thank you after they do get that piece of candy. And then you also want to talk about waiting your turn. So just because it's candy and we're all sugared up, we don't want to push our way to the front, and we want to stay on the sidewalk and respect other people's properties and their decorations. So that's my best advice for kids.
Yeah, that is a great tip right there. Now, I know at my house, of course, we're out trick-or-treating with the kiddos, so we've got a candy bowl that's just hanging out on the porch, and we always have to make a sign every year, and I'm sure our sign fails, but it just says, take a piece and leave some for others. So do you have any tips on maybe what if that candy bowl is on the porch? Can you take more than one piece of candy? What's kind of the rule there?
I think if it's unattended and no one can tell you if you can take more, it's not a candy buffet. It's just one piece of candy that you want to take. You want to make sure that it's fun for everybody. And so just taking that one piece, is leaving some for everybody else.
I know. I think that is so important, too, because it's nothing like coming home after we've gone trick-or-treating and that bowl we had, giant bowl of candy, it's all gone. And we're like, well, what do we do for the next?
Yeah, you were only gone 5 minutes.
Yes, I know. We were gone for a very short time. Now all of our candy is gone. We've got to turn out the lights and not come to the door. Nobody wants to do that on Halloween. So maybe something for adults. What do adults need to keep in mind tonight?
I think, earlier in the evening, sometimes the younger kids are out. And so let's try not to be too scary for that younger group and maybe save some of those tricks for the older set. I think you want to compliment kids' costumes. So, with things today, it's hard to keep up with all of the costumes.
Right.
So instead of saying, oh my gosh, what are you? Just compliment and say, your costume is so creative. Can you tell me about it? And who knows how much time that kid has taken or their parents have taken to make that costume. So you always want to compliment the costumes. And then I think that, you always want to match their thank you with a you're welcome, because the best thing we can do is model those good manners, if it's Halloween or not.
You know what, that's a really great tip, because I find myself, I think that's a common thing for parents to do when the kids come to the door is say, what are you this Halloween? Even if they're obviously Darth Vader, it's just become kind of like something that you say, right? But asking them to tell you what they are is a really great tip. How have you seen that play out maybe in your own home? How has that worked for you?
Well, we definitely have kids every year that have kind of an obscure costume.
Right.
I'm guilty of that for my kids. And so, you just don't want to put the pressure on them. And this is not normal behavior for children. They don't normally dress up, go house to house, and ask people for candy. This is really out of the ordinary. So anything you can do to make that process a little bit more smooth for a child is, well worth your time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, maybe this is a question that's a little off the map here, but I know that some houses really get the prestige and the word of mouth for handing out like giant pieces of candy, right? And it can become competitive within neighborhoods. You've got people handing out little small pieces of candy. You don't want to go to that house. You want to go to these guys give the big stuff, right? What's kind of maybe a rule of thumb there for families as they're considering what they're going to hand out this year for Halloween?
I think, whatever your budget allows and whatever you're comfortable doing, I think is fine. But I think it's also important for friends to make sure they go to friends' houses and family houses, regardless of the treat that's being handed out. I think that you're, going to a neighborhood that you have no connection with just because they have great candy is probably not the message you want to be sending to your children. So being able to connect with family and friends is a great use of the time tonight.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think that something that's really fun at our house, it's kind of a whole neighborhood thing, but we get a few families together. We all walk around together. So it's all about that community building as opposed to, oh my goodness, what kind of great candy did you get tonight? So those are great tips, Christy. I really appreciate your time. Where can people go if they're looking for more information? What's your website?
My website is thepolitecompany.com.
Thepolitecompany.com. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out in our neighborhoods here in Northwest Arkansas. Thanks again, Christy.